Welcome to Homeschool Your Way. I'm your host, Janna Cook, and Bookshark's community manager. Today's episode, I am joined by DeeDee and Ximena of Chips and Salsa Homeschooling. If you didn't know, they were the first hosts of Homeschool Your Way. Super excited to kick off season 4 by having them back, giving an update on what they've been up to, and talking about revisiting your why you homeschool, creating a vision, and sometimes the most dreaded topic, consistency. DeeDee, Ximena, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, we're so happy to
Yay.
be here.
Yes, thank you, Janna, for having us.
Well, you ladies were the creators of Homeschool Your Way and have moved on to bigger and better things. Why don't you just quickly introduce yourselves and then tell our audience what you've been up to?
Sure. Go ahead. Start, DeeDee.
Hi, I'm DeeDee, and this has been one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make in a long time, but I just completed my last year of homeschooling, and it was a really hard decision. My daughter finished ninth grade with me at home, and now she's going to be going to a private school. And my oldest son graduated from that school, and so he's looking at going to college and playing basketball, and he's super excited about all of that. So 13 years of homeschooling has been just a wonderful time in my life, and I'm grieving that it's come to an end, but I'm also excited for the future.
Now, DeeDee, how many years did you homeschool just one child?
We homeschooled with her for 2 years with just me and her, 8th grade and 9th grade. And 8th grade was a little rocky, as it is for most 8th graders. It's just that time of life. So we were really grateful to have that one more year together where, we got close again and we ironed out some of those difficult puberty wrinkles. And so I guess I homeschooled her for 10 years.
It is interesting when you go from homeschooling multiple children and then only having one in the home, the dynamics totally change.
So different.
All right, Ximena, it's your turn. What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Well, I've been up to mainly graduating my daughter. So she just graduated from high school. Yes, real big accomplishment. I still can't believe it. I always imagined graduation day to be like, I don't know, this monumental milestone or something, and it is. But when it came and went, I'm still like kind of in shock. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah, so that's it, right? And right now I can't say what I'm up to because I have no idea. I know that my son is going into so he'll be the only one homeschooling. So I'm going to be putting him in like kind of an umbrella private school where he'll be taking some external classes and be able to be with other kids, other homeschool kids. Um, he's going into 10th grade. And so yeah, it's all new territory for me. I'm back to not knowing what is going on.
Well, welcome to the world where the rest of us live. I have no idea what's going on most of the time. And I recently said to my 17-year-old daughter, I have never been a mother to 17-year-olds. This is new to me. I am doing what I know to do based on what I have done. And so 17 style, she said, it's showing.
Wow.
So, parenting 101, prepared to be humbled at all times with your children. So, Ximena, you're going to be in the same situation that DeeDee and I have been in, which is just homeschooling one child, which is just, it's different.
Of homeschooling one kid is going to be interesting.
Well, the struggle is definitely real. I think that when you have multiple children and you start seeing them be done and you kind of start losing them in the sense that they're not with you all the time. So we're talking about the end of the road in some sense, or kind of transitioning to the end, but this is the fall and parents are coming into homeschooling and they want to know, what about the rest of us who are just starting our journey? And we had kind of talked about This idea, it's pervasive in the homeschool world. Know your why. Why are you choosing to homeschool? And some people have a very solid why, and other people's why changes throughout the year. So let's talk about revisiting our why, because as a new homeschool parent, I could have decided in the spring that this was a good idea. I bought my curriculum, and the closer I get to my start date, I'm really starting to question why I'm doing this.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we talk about in so many of our videos, our YouTube videos, and on the podcast episodes that we did with you guys, and in our Homeschool 101 course. It really is an anchor. Um, and I think it's really important to revisit it because, like you said, seasons come, seasons go. If there's one thing we know about parenting is that it's ever changing. And so there might be a season where you have your why changes, like homeschool's not working anymore, or, um, we, in DeeDee's case, for instance, about putting her kids into private school, and she's got strong whys for that. Um, so I think in order to stay motivated, encouraged, you have to remind yourself of your why you're doing it. And that is really going to be your driving force on those hard days. Um, so, yeah, it's really important to revisit it every year. We used to have a routine, uh, kind of called Vision Week, because I think for me anyway, for people like me, I found it very hard to just get motivated and jump right in without casting vision for myself and for the kids, and without having a greater idea of what I wanted this year to look like. Um, and I think sharing that why with your kids, sharing that vision with your kids gets everybody on the same page, so like that's why those back to school traditions that I did were really important to us, because not only is it kind of getting you out of summer mode, but also just, okay, what do we want to do, what are our goals, this is what we want to strive for. And I'm not talking only academic. I mean, we're talking about just our own growth, as a human being, our relationship our relationships, and also like what we do for the community. Like all that stuff was part of our vision board and our our talking points. And so having that why stir up that vision every year um, was really important to us. DeeDee and I would actually make it a thing to even go on a retreat. I think we even did a retreat, I think maybe like 4 years in a row with the homeschool moms. I mean, with the co-op moms. We grabbed a hotel and we really envisioned what we wanted for our families, and we each had our own thing, and then we would present that to our kids, and we would just start the year really encouraged and really on this high of, this is what we're going to do. And looking back on that, we would hang up our vision, we would write it on our planners. That was what kept us going throughout the year and reminding each other of that. So I know it sounds like a lot and maybe idealistic, but it doesn't have to be. Like, you don't have to go on a retreat like us and have Vision Week or whatever. But even if you just take a small amount of time to think that through as a parent, and then be able to present that to your kids at some point, I honestly think it's a really great idea, because um, yeah, I think it puts everybody on the same page.
Yeah, I think it's really different too, to pull your kids out of fear, trying to keep them from something, or avoid interaction with some type of kid, or bullying perhaps. So that's a very defensive type of why. But to really circle back and say, okay, I don't want it just to be out of fear, but to say, what do I want to see for my kids? What are the positives that I want to bring into their life? Is a really, I think, more encouraging way to start out the year. So yeah, I don't love what public schools are doing, but my why is all about what we're going to get to do. So my why is circling around the relationship that I have with my kids, about the opportunities that the kids get to have. And I remember one year, Ximena, she gets me to go to the beach because I don't always want to do that, but I know it's fun and the kids want to. So I remember one year we started out the year with, we are going to school at the beach at least once a week. And that was a great vision. And it actually got us to go outside and have school outside at the beach way more than I would have if I hadn't cast a vision, right? And then, like Ximena said, to talk it over with the kids, because they have ideas about what they want for the year as well. They have projects they want to work on, and things they want to improve on and get better at. And one year, academically, it was like, we're going to focus on writing this year. So what does that look like? And just thinking about ways that we can work on writing. And some years it was all about, let's make, include more field trips, and how can we get out more, go out and do more things. So I agree that casting that vision, getting ideas out there, really, it rejuvenates your year, gets you excited about what's coming, and you're a lot more likely to follow through if you've already put those things out in motion.
I think it's very similar to taking a road trip. So you can map out how you're going to get from your start to your finish, right? And so that's like bare bones. Okay, we're taking a road trip. Or you can map out where you're going start to finish and then see along the way all the fun things that, you don't even have to like stop for a day, because sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to extend the trip. The road trip's long and not, people get car sick, you get cranky. But if you say, oh, but we're just going to make sure that we drive by this one thing, and then that gets the family all excited, right? Or we're going to make sure that we're intentional to look for, we were just in the mountains this weekend, the moose. We really wanted to see a moose. So we were intentional to look for a moose. Now, we didn't see a moose, which is unfortunate, but my daughter did find an elk, and that was like so cool. But if you don't talk about it beforehand, it's something that I've been kind of mulling over, thinking about what you're thinking about, right? Like, I think it's called metacognition. So if you're aware that, okay, I want my child to have a great year and we're going to focus on the education. We want a quality education. That's like the basic roadmap. Okay, great. You'll probably get there, but why not have fun on the way? It's just, that's why we homeschool. I have to remind myself constantly when I kind of feel like we're just kind of in a rut. I'm like, wait a second, we're homeschool. We can do this however we want. Like, we can take the books outside of the house. We can go put the books down and go do some real life learning or field trips, but we have to be intentional. And I think that we sometimes have this Pollyanna idea that it's just going to happen because we're homeschoolers. And I can testify to the fact that there are years where my homeschool was really dry because I wasn't intentional to have a vision and say, okay, it's not just about academics. It is about sibling relationship building. It is about quality time outside. I mean, all of these other things that maybe as a new homeschooler, you didn't even know you should be thinking about them.
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things, you said it, thinking about what you're thinking about. DeeDee and I are such big proponents of that, of taking time. DeeDee would say, we don't take enough time sometimes to just sit and think, about let those, because a lot of times we could be, in the middle of something and we get this great idea, but we're too busy at that moment to ponder upon it and jot it down. And that's what we need those times for. And we actually tried to implement it once a week. Like, if your kids have like an extracurricular activity or something that you drop them off, like we would use our Mondays for that because they would have learning center. We would just sit and kind of think and jot stuff down. And I think even if you have an idea book, like available to you, or like an app or something where I have a Google Keep I put everything on there, like just any on my phone, anything that comes up, a website that I run into that I like, an article, whatever, I just pin it on there. And I just always have it. And I I think that, like you said, you were talking about like the pacing and the ideas and the roadmap. That's such a great visual, because that's kind of what we used to do. Like when we would get together and over coffee, again, make it fun for yourself, like
Yes.
we would get babysitters and I mean our husbands, and we'd be like, we're going to do this and we're going to sit down, and what do we want to do like in December? I mean, we'd even be like, and we're loose about it, obviously, and flexible, but we're like, oh, it would be fun if we like learned how to make a cake or something on this month. Oh, what would be cool is that like we visit this ice cream shop, in the summer, or like just things like that. And of course, a lot of things got done, a lot of things didn't get done, but we have the bones, and we would always revisit. And it would surprise us, right? DeeDee sometimes would be like, hey, we wrote down that we were gonna do this field trip. Like we totally forgot about it. And then we were like, okay. And it would kind of push us to do that. So yeah, I can't stress the importance of of dreaming, and allow yourself to dream. Like you were saying, like things don't have to be so dry if you don't want them to. You have to enjoy yourself. You have to make it fun for you, and you have to make it enjoyable for you as well, because you're leading this bus.
Well, yeah, and that's really the idea behind the name of the podcast, Homeschool Your Way, to take your curriculum and take your ideas, your educational goals, but make it fun. Make it something that you can be consistent with, that you and your family will be able to implement on a day-to-day basis. Because, I mean, homeschool is hard work, right? But if it's fun, you're a lot more likely to keep going, keep doing it, and enjoy it along the way.
And I think this idea of consistency is so important. I had recently seen an illustration where people think that consistency is linear. You're consistent, it's the same height, there's no deviation, when really consistency is real life deviation over a long period of time. So I always felt like in the fall, I had my plan, I felt really good about it. And by week 3, I was off the rails and reevaluating my life choices and wondering how we're ever going to get to week 36 in our curriculum, or how we're going to get through the year. But and already feeling behind, right? Like, oh my gosh, we missed this. I skipped this. This day didn't go like I thought it was going to go. But the truth is, over 7 years, we have homeschooled and completed each year. Now, I don't mean that we completed 36 weeks each year. Sometimes it was a little bit less. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. This year was kind of a bust. I finally looked at my daughter who finished up 8th grade, and I said, "So you're just done with 8th grade?" And she was like, "Yep." I said,
Oh, I know. It's
"Okay."
hard. I threatened my son. I was like, you don't finish math, you're going to be doing it in the summer. We're not doing it. I mean, he's not, he started a little bit and then he didn't finish. And I'm like, okay, well, you did enough, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I had to finally make a deal with my daughter that if you can pass the assessment for the next level, I'll just let it go.
I think part of
Well,
homeschooling your way is just letting a lot of things go.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, letting a lot of things go and exchanging other things for other things. A lot of times it doesn't go according to exactly our plan, but you're like, oh, this works. Like this, what we're doing now is actually, teaching this one principle or whatever. Yeah, and I think that's why we stress the vision so much, because we always talk about, so like if our theme is more time in nature, for 1 year, and be like, hey, we really want to get out more. Um, then you can ask yourself, as life happens, which is never linear, like you were saying, okay, is this going with my vision? Is this even is this curriculum aligning with the vision that I cast? Is this book aligning with the vision that I cast? Like, you can ask yourself those things, and it's easier to let go of something if it doesn't align, right? Um, it's easier to incorporate other simple things as well. And so I think that anchor allows for that flexibility that you're talking about, and that just kind of life happening and it not being a linear consistency, but just you're plugging along and you're taking it day by day, and you're remaining flexible because you have, we always talk about how important flexibility is within homeschooling. Um, but that's why an anchor is so important, your why and your vision, because that's going to kind of help you stay on track and stay motivated. And again, be able to switch out activities or incorporate new ones, spontaneous ones, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and I like to say I'm consistently inconsistent, right? but as long as you remember that we're only moving forward. So yeah, some days are going to look better than others. Some weeks are going to look better than others, but that you are making progress. And after 13 years of homeschooling, it's really cool to see, oh, I taught my kids how to read. When they read something and you're like, I taught them that.
Yeah.
Like they have grown, they have matured, they have learned. And so even the really bumpy years were a success in the end.
There's so many
I was
great stories. Right now, when you said that, DeeDee, I wanted to share. I'm a big Office fan, as people may or may not know. And I was listening to the Office Ladies podcast, which they're basically copying DeeDee and I. I mean, it's like that's we were the Chips and Salsa Ladies before they were the Office Ladies. I'm just joking, but and they're best friends. But they were talking about a deleted scene in one of the episodes, and this character, Robert California, he quotes an entire poem that our kids know by heart, which is The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams. And I heard it and I got so excited. And I ran to my son and I was like, listen to this. And he was like, wow, that's cool. I meant to share it with DeeDee and the kids yesterday when they were over. But things like that where there's all these little wins that you get to celebrate, because even though we didn't do poetry perfectly, or whatever it is, throughout the years they learned so much poetry and it's stuck with them, and then now when you hear references and on TV and stuff, they're like, oh, I know that, or I know that song, or I know about this history piece or whatever. I find those to be the pay. When they say homeschool moms don't get paid, that's like, those are paydays for me, because I see the enjoyment that comes out of all those years that we poured out, and how we learn together. And it's something we get to experience together and get excited about together, and I don't know, to me, that's where you see the consistency that you're talking about.
I was gonna say, it just reminded me of my app on my phone. So there will be some days where we'll walk 1,000 or 11,000 to 15,000 steps in a day, because we are either hiking or we are doing something and we're very active. And then I'll look at the next day and it's honestly like sometimes not even 1,000 steps, because I've been at a computer all day or whatever. But at the end of the week, it shows me my average. And I think that we have to remember those averages, that life isn't just, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps every day. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but on average, it will tell me, oh, this week, this year, you've done more on average than you did last year. And honestly, it'll tell me the opposite. Last year, this week, you did more than this week. But it is the idea that consistency really is about, just like DeeDee had said, moving forward, the progress, the not being stagnant, not doing nothing, but not beating yourself up because you didn't do it all every
Right.
day.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the things we always tell people is tailor your homeschool. Like, grab use all the resources, use a curriculum like Bookshark is amazing because everything's laid out for you. But even within that laid out structured curriculum, there's so much flexibility. You can cross things off, you can add other things, you can swap books, you can, there's so many cool things that you can do.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you're looking at it over time. And like Bookshark uses Story of the World. Well, their resource guide is loaded. If you did everything in there, it'd be ridiculous. Like it's not even meant to do it all. So a lot of times people beat themselves up like I didn't finish, or I didn't get around to everything, or we totally, missed the last 5 chapters of this curriculum or whatever. In the long run, that doesn't really matter.
And I think that's why too, another practical tip is to like make sure you document stuff, take pictures or, things for you to look back on. I have to do that a lot of times because the years are so busy that you look back and you're like, oh, whoa, that was this school year that we did that. Like that'll happen to me a lot. And looking back on pictures and be like, whoa, we really did a lot of what we wanted to do.
Yeah,
But,
that's such a good point, Ximena.
yeah,
It's
because
so true.
a lot of times we feel like, oh shoot, that it didn't really work out like I wanted it to, or I just feel kind of incomplete or feel like a failure because I didn't, reach certain goals. But you look back throughout the year and you're like, oh, we did a lot. Kind of like what we did
Yeah.
with chemistry. DeeDee taught the kids chemistry, and I was like, did we do enough lab for them? And then we went back and saw everything, and she's like, oh yeah, I mean, we got a lot of lab done, probably more than they would have gotten at school.
Yeah. But you don't remember it all. It's like, oh, I forgot we did that. Oh, we did that too. Yeah.
I think human nature, we just naturally think about what we don't do well,
Yeah,
and we don't remember what we do well.
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's for the kids too. I often have to have like sit down and let's watch slideshows of all the pictures because sometimes, as they get older, especially my daughter, I think she's such a dreamer, and she's like, I just feel like we didn't do this or we didn't do that, or, and I'm like, oh, let's sit down and watch all our memories so you can see the childhood that you've had. And it's great because we really do go down memory lane and it really fills our hearts. We're like, oh man, we've really had a rich journey. We've been intentional, and it I can say I don't regret um anything in the sense of like I put my heart and soul into it. Of course there's a lot of mistakes I made um and things, you could have, should have done, whatever. There's a ton of that always. But when you look back, there's a sense of satisfaction because you're like, okay, it was beautiful.
Well, documentation is important because I had the opposite the other day. I chided my eldest for not remembering that I took her to an amusement park, and then I realized it wasn't her.
Oh,
To be fair, I have twins, but they are not identical, and that is no excuse. But I then realized, oh, that wasn't you. I do apologize. And if you'd like to go to that amusement park, I'd be happy to take you.
That's hilarious. I have 4 kids, 1 year apart each. And I do that. Oh, that wasn't you, was it? Okay, well, we can do it another time.
that's
Yes,
funny.
the truth of motherhood and homeschooling here. So we've talked about revisiting your why. If you don't have a why, create a why. Remember what prompted you to make this decision as a family. It's okay to revisit that why. Sometimes on your worst day, I think it's important to go back and say, this is the reason we chose to do this, even though it's hard. And it's great to look at it on a good day and go, yes, this was the reason that we chose to make this decision. Leading into having a vision, it's like, it seems so simple, but I think again, human nature, we take things for granted. So we go, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. Great. Well, how are you going to run that marathon? You can't go from not running to running a marathon. You have to have a plan. And personal experience, I ran one marathon. I will never do it again. I think running is dumb, but I had to consistently train, and some days I hit my goal of getting the miles in that I needed to. Some weeks I didn't, but I finished the race, right? And so thinking of it as you need a plan, you can be consistently inconsistent, but you've got to keep doing it. And that vision is helpful. Otherwise, you may not remember what the plan was. You think about building a building or even like a she shed, right? And it's like, okay, you want to build this, but you didn't have plans. And you start putting it up and the structure starts to look wonky. And why isn't this working? It's like, well, you didn't have a blueprint. You didn't have a plan. So again, thinking about what you're thinking about coming into homeschool, it's a new year, you're new, or it's your 8th year like myself, being intentional about that, setting aside time to vision and plan. And then this idea of, DeeDee, I love how you said consistently inconsistent. At least there's something there. And failure is just part of life. Whether
Absolutely.
you got to do a field trip that was educationally sound every week or every month, if you didn't, or you thought something was going to work out, sometimes you have these ideas where I'm going to take my kid to a living farm or a living museum or one of those things, and they're going to really capture what it was like. And then they're just playing in the dirt, and all they remember was chasing the duck. And
Right.
it's like, well, better
Or
luck
they're
next time.
whining the whole time
It's
about how
not
they
a
want to go
failure.
home.
Yeah.
Or
We talk
they're
about that stuff all the time, DeeDee and I,
yeah,
because we would put
they're
so much
wandering
effort.
off.
Right.
They're
They're not
wandering
even
off.
listening. Yeah, they're not listening to the presentation. There's no educational value whatsoever. And you're
Right.
thinking, why did I pay for this? I could have been home getting things done.
Right. And I think that's just part of the journey, right? One of the things, one of our mottos, Chips and Salsa, is to, just enjoy every messy moment, because it's going to be super messy and it's going to be different every day. And as, we, we said, kids are ever changing. Nobody ever talks about the hormonal changes that they go through and that we're going through at the same time. And there's so much to life. But you could either be super rigid and think you're a failure at everything, or you can embrace the mess and make something out of it and just stay flexible and try to have fun in every messy moment. Just want to tell everybody who is maybe starting and it seems like a lot of days are hard. In the end, you're not going to remember those hard days as much. You're going to remember all the amazing memories that you've made and all those special moments that you were intentional about. And that's what I have to take. I know it sounds super sad. I don't mean to, but even with my son only has 3 more years, and I'm just always going to treasure the moments and that we lived through homeschool.
It's we're really sentimental, Janna, right now, but
So sentimental.
but hopefully it comes off as encouraging if you're starting your homeschool journey and you're wondering, is it really worth it? Because there's money involved and there's time involved and there's sacrifice involved. And we just want to let you know it is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It is so special to homeschool your kids, to form those relationships, to grow and learn together. That has been also, one of the best parts. We say like some of the lessons. I remember this one time, Ximena and I created this game show. It was going to be this big review for all the whole year, and we were going to do this game show. And the kids just, they did not appreciate it. And it was a big bust. They were like, boo.
They were crying and fighting.
Believe it.
I spent hours preparing that game show.
We were pretty disappointed in that moment, but now look at us. We laugh about it now.
I don't know. I think maybe Ximena still has a little tear.
She's still a little bit upset, but
no. So we just have a lot of those fun moments where at the time may have seemed like a failure, but it's just hilarious.
Ladies, I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us an update about what you're doing and where you're at, and encouraging not only those of us like myself who are continuing and it feels like, is this ever going to end? And at the same time, encouraging those families that are coming in as newbies and are excited and can hear that there is a payday at the end of all of this, all these decisions that we're making in our day to day with our homeschool. So thank you so much. How can our audience continue to follow you and hear more about what you guys offer?
Our Instagram handle is Chips and Salsa Ladies, where you can find some posts and links to our YouTube channel, Chips and Salsa Homeschooling. We also have a Homeschool 101 course that we offer that you can find links to on the Instagram.
Yeah, and we offer consultation one-on-one. If you're interested, you can check out our website. But if you go to Chips and Salsa Ladies, you can find all that info there on social media.
All right. Well, we will have all of their links in the notes. Thank you guys so much for being on today. Appreciate all that you've contributed to the homeschool world. DeeDee and Ximena, Chips and Salsa Homeschooling.
Our pleasure. We're so happy to be here, and go moms and dads.
Yeah. Thanks, Janna, for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.